Emotion is a part of it. You know, they buy from companies that they feel that they connect with. I mean, there's a reason why companies, donate, a certain percentage to charity on transactions. It's because that emotional component, is significant in the buying decision for sure.
I can see the whole wide world with these two eyes, and I can be whoever I wanna be, 'cause it's my life.
Hi, thanks for tuning in for another episode of Ask Spurrell CPA. Today we're talking about on Edmonton Business Consultant, only sell what you're sold on. Again, Edmonton Business Consultant, only sell what you're sold on. I have Zach from our office here today. Zach, thanks for joining us here.
No problem.
So Zach, how's the CPA program going for you?
It's going. It's
yeah.
A long, hard go at it. So.
Yeah. When's the test? The first test?
July 4th.
July 4th. So yeah, you had the in-class session yet? Or?
I've had both of them. Yeah.
Cool. So you ready?
Oh, we'll see.
You'll get there. You'll get there. Okay. So the quote that I have today, Gary Vaynerchuk quote. We're talking about only sell what you're sold on. And Gary Vaynerchuk says that even the dullest introvert has pizzazz when they're talking about something he or she is passionate about. And the statistic that we have here, we threw out, almost all the time here, is 50% of all Canadian small business will go out of business in the first 5 years, and 42% of these failed businesses will list the lack of customers as one of the primary reasons for their failure, making lack of customers the most common reason for business failure. And the story that we have here are people start businesses where they're selling something that they're not truly passionate about, and they struggle to generate enough revenue. So Zach, what are the questions that these business owners should be asking?
Well, the main one that comes to mind is, do customers buy with emotion and logic? They
buy with a combination of both, really. So, and it's really important that they do buy with a combination of both. I mean, you think about logic, it's pretty easy. They're looking at the quality and the features and the price and the timing. That is the logic end of it too. But they always buy with emotion as well. Emotion is a part of it. They buy from companies that they feel that they connect with. I mean, there's a reason why companies, donate, a certain percentage to charity on transactions. It's because that emotional component, is significant in the buying decision for sure.
Yeah. So with that, do entrepreneurs usually over prioritize logic with regards to sales presentations?
Yeah, I think entrepreneurs are naturally predisposed to favor the logic. Yeah. So, we have the 5% of the population who they're entrepreneurs, right? And they assume that the other 95% of the population thinks exactly like them. And that's not the case. I think entrepreneurs are wired slightly differently, and they think that it all comes down to logic every single time. So I think most entrepreneurs, they're actually over prioritizing how much the logic goes into it, and in under prioritizing or completely ignoring the fact that customers will make some of the decisions based on an emotional feeling.
Yeah. So is it difficult to connect with customers emotionally if you're not sold on the product that you're trying to sell?
Yeah, I think for sure it is very difficult. I mean, if you're not sold on it yourself and you're trying to get someone else to become emotionally connected with the product or service, it's almost an impossible task. You really have to, you can only convey that feeling if you actually have the connection to the product or service yourself. So you can really only sell what you're sold on, as the title of the video says.
Exactly. So if you can't connect with customers emotionally, will you be selling commodity then?
Yeah, then it turns out like it's just a commodity. It's just a kilogram of sugar. It's just a pound of sand. You really are, now you're just selling a commodity. And the ability to add any value or demonstrate that you add value as opposed to any one of the competitors that you have is difficult.
Yeah. So is price generally the only way to compete when selling a commodity?
Yeah. So now you're selling a commodity, and the only way to sell that thing is to sell it cheaper than everyone else. So if you've commoditized your product or service, that's not a good thing. That means the only way you can't demonstrate any additional value, so you're probably just selling it on price at that point.
Yeah, and with selling it on price, is it sustainable long term?
Usually it's not sustainable long term. Usually selling on price, if price is your only differentiator, if you're not able to add any additional the value. Usually someone with deeper pockets or some sort of advantage on supply chain eventually will come and knock you out. So usually it's not a long-term strategy, especially for small businesses that don't have those deep pockets.
Okay. And can striving for excellence make even boring products seem extraordinary?
Yeah, so a lot of entrepreneurs, we're selling something that maybe it's a little bit boring. You know, I mean, maybe you're a plumber and you're selling air conditioner units, and that, you know, doesn't seem exciting. You're not selling Ferraris here. We're not selling $1 million homes. You're selling air conditioner units. But you know, if you can strive for the excellence in installing that air conditioner unit, and you're providing the you know, the type of unit that you can program from your phone, and it's going to be able to keep your family comfortable all hours of the day, while at the same time, you know, it's going to be able to you know, reduce your energy bills because you can set it on an efficient schedule, and you're going to make the customer convenience, you know, maximum when you come in to install it. You're going to install it at a time that's convenient for them, and you're not going to disrupt the operation of their home. You know, that sort of striving for excellence in a otherwise what might seem like a commodity, you know, that's what seems that ordinary product. It can become extraordinary. So it doesn't have to be, you know, this extravagant product, you know, to get it to extraordinary. It's that striving for excellence in it that can make that otherwise boring product, you know, seem extraordinary.
Yeah. I guess, why would it be okay to be completely sold on your minimal viable product?
Yeah, so it might sound a little bit, because we talk about, you know, you need to get to your minimal viable product and start selling that, because that's, you know, that'll provide immediate cash flow and allow you to develop a better product too. So you might be starting out as an entrepreneur and you're selling your minimal viable product, and it's not where you want it to get. And that's okay. You can still be sold on your minimal viable product, because you can still say, hey, in your own mind, you know, eventually I want to get to here someday, but that minimal viable product, it's solving a real issue. So it doesn't have to be, you know, the huge scope of what your ultimate dream product offering is. Even your minimal viable product is solving a very important problem, and you need to get behind that. So don't think about the problems that you're not solving yet, because you haven't developed out your product and service. You just think about that minimal viable product. It's solving a very important problem, and that in itself can be extraordinary as well if done with excellence.
Yeah. Is it okay to promote solely your work ethic when with regards to your product?
It is, yeah. So a lot of times, if you're, you know, a newer business starting out, the value that they're getting is they're getting you. If they go to your competitor, they're not getting you. They're getting the same air conditioning unit, but they're not getting you. They're not getting the guy who's going to call them back a year after to make sure everything's still working. You know, they're not going to get the guy who's you know, there and able to answer his phone and take the service call later at night if something stops going. So it's okay to promote that work ethic, because as a small business, sometimes that's all you have initially starting out, because you haven't, you know, really refined your systems and developed that team who can support you. So sometimes you're promoting yourself and that work ethic that you bring to that product or services. You know, it's basically, you know, hey, if you go with the other guy, sure, maybe they are $100 cheaper, but if you go with us, you get me.
Yeah.
And that's sometimes all it takes, really, if they like you. So.
Yeah, you mentioned being sold on your product. Will personal use of that product demonstrate how you're personally sold on it?
Yeah. So it's a little easier to sell. You know, it's like going to the car dealership and the guy at Ford is trying to sell you a Ford, but he's driving a Chevy. So you don't want to be that guy. If you have that personal use, that's one thing that can really demonstrate that you're sold on the product. You know, that's the way I do it too. This is the way this is the AC unit that I have in my home, or I have a similar one, right? You know, that personal use of the product is a huge way to demonstrate that you're actually sold on it as well.
Okay, and I think the last question I have here is, how can you use your personal history to show your passion about your product? So
a lot of people, they probably underestimate what led them to be there. You know, let's go right through that plumber example too. He's installing the HVAC units. You know, what led in his career path, you know, what led him to become a plumber in the first place? What are the companies that he worked at? What were the good things and the challenges he's noticed away along his career? You know, what was the history of when, you know, they got their ticket to when they started the business to where they are now? You know, that sort of connection with the journey, it shows you, usually there's a reason why you want to do that. Usually there's a reason where it's, you know, I wanted to deliver a better product or service. You know, I wanted to do things with this particular way and this particular value add. And that's going to demonstrate a passion. So if you just come in there and you don't tell that story of how you got to be the business owner, I mean, you're just not playing one of the best cards that you have, because usually the reason of why you wanted to start that company in the first place is probably the same reason of why that customer wants to hire you. You know, they wanted to hire you because you wanted to be a company that, you know, had a better warranty, or delivered stronger products, or had better training for the staff, or made it more convenient for the customers, right? And if you can, you know, tell the story of how that light bulb went on in your head, they're going to believe it a little bit more, rather than just saying, hey, look, we take service calls at any hour of the day. Well, why? Why did that occur to you, right? Because you worked for a company for 4 years and they didn't take service calls, and the customers were upset and you didn't want to work there anymore and you wanted to do it better. You know, that sort of personal story, that's what's going to allow them to connect for sure. And it's going to make you more believable and authentic. I think customers are going to eventually trust you and do business with you. So I think that's what we have here today. Thanks so much for tuning in. As always, please hit the like and subscribe button so we continue to deliver you tips on how to beat the odds at business. And we look forward to any comments that you have below so we can respond back. Thanks very much.